What if I told you the scariest stories you've ever heard might be real? Tonight, we're diving into the top 10 urban legends that will keep you up at night. And trust me, you'll never look at a dark window or an empty road the same way again. Number 10, the Whispering Forest. Deep in the heart of an unnamed forest, there's a place where the rules of nature don't apply. No birds sing, no animals roam. Even the wind seems to avoid it. Locals call it the Whispering Forest. They say if you venture into its depths at dusk, you'll hear them voices. At first, they're faint, almost indistinguishable from the rustling leaves. But the longer you stay, the clearer they become. They whisper your name. They tell you secrets. They beg you to follow. Many have tried to uncover the source of these whispers. Some claim it's the spirits of lost travelers, trapped between worlds. Others believe it's something far older, something that doesn't want to be found. One story tells of a hiker who entered the forest at sunset, determined to prove the legends wrong. He was never seen again, but days later, his voice was heard whispering from the trees. So, if you ever find yourself in a forest where the air feels too still and the silence too heavy, listen closely. You might hear them too, and once you do, it's already too late. Number 9, the clown statue. It was supposed to be a quiet night. The kids were asleep. The house was silent. But as the babysitter settled in to watch TV, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Her eyes kept drifting to the corner of the room, where a clown statue stood. Its painted grin was too wide. Its glassy eyes seemed to follow her every move. She tried to ignore it, but the longer she sat there, the more she felt like it was watching her. Hours passed, and the unease grew. Finally, she called the parents. "Hey, I just wanted to ask, is there a clown statue in the living room?" There was a long pause. Then, in a panicked voice, the mother replied, "Get the kids and get out of the house. We don't own a clown statue." By the time the police arrived, the statue was gone. But the babysitter swears she saw it one last time, standing at the top of the stairs, its head tilted, as if laughing at her. Number 8, the licked hand. It was a stormy night. The rain hammered against the windows, and the wind howled like a wounded animal. But the girl wasn't afraid. She had her dog by her side, and his soft breathing was a comfort in the dark. Then she heard it, a faint dripping sound. At first, she thought it was the rain. But as the minutes passed, the sound grew louder. Closer. Terrified, she reached her hand out of bed, and her dog licked it. Reassured, she fell asleep. But when she woke the next morning, her dog was dead. His body lay cold on the floor. And on the wall beside her bed, written in blood, were the words, "Humans can lick too." To this day, no one knows who or what was in her room that night. But one thing's for sure, she never sleeps with her hand outside the covers anymore. Number 7, the Midnight Man. At exactly 3 a.m., you light a candle. You knock on your door 22 times, and you invite him in. The Midnight Man. Legend says he'll hunt you until dawn. If he catches you, he'll trap you in a nightmare so real, you'll never wake up. Survivors claim he whispers your darkest fears. In your own voice. One girl tried the ritual on a dare. She followed the rules, knocked 22 times, left the door unlocked. But as the hours passed, she began to hear footsteps. Slow at first, then faster. Closer. She hid in a closet, clutching the candle. But as the clock struck 4 a.m., the flame went out. And in the darkness, she felt a cold breath on her neck. When her friends found her the next morning, she was curled in a corner, muttering the same phrase over and over. "He's still here." So, if you ever hear about the Midnight Man, don't play his game. Because once you invite him in, he never leaves. Number 6, the Black-Eyed Children. They come at night. Pale skin, sweet smiles. But when you look closer, their eyes are pitch black. The Black-Eyed Children. They knock on your door, asking to come inside. They'll say they're lost. They'll say they need help. But don't be fooled. Those who let them in, they vanish. Or worse, they come back, with black eyes themselves. One man recalls answering the door to 2 children late at night. They asked to use his phone, but something felt off. Their voices were too calm. Their eyes completely black, like voids. He slammed the door and called the police. But when they arrived, the children were gone. The only evidence? 2 sets of small, muddy footprints leading away from the house. So if you ever hear a knock at your door late at night, don't answer. Because once you see their eyes, it's already too late. Number 5, the slit-mouthed woman, Kokusei Kana. In the quiet streets of Japan, there's a legend that sends shivers down the spine of even the bravest souls. They call her Kukusei-kana, the slit-mouthed woman. She wears a surgical mask, hiding the grotesque scars that stretch from ear to ear. She approaches her victims with a simple question. Am I beautiful? If you say no, she kills you on the spot. If you say yes, she removes the mask, revealing her horrifying smile, and asks again, how about now? One man recalls encountering her on a deserted road. When he said she was beautiful, she tore off her mask and lunged at him with a pair of scissors. He barely escaped, but not without a scar, a reminder of the night he met the slit-mouthed woman. So if you ever see a woman in a mask, asking if she's beautiful, run. Don't look back, because once she shows you her face, it's already too late. Number 4, the babysitter and the man upstairs. It was supposed to be an easy job. The kids were asleep. The house was quiet, but then the phone rang. A man's voice, cold and emotionless, asked, "Have you checked the children?" The babysitter hung up, thinking it was a prank, but the calls kept coming. Each time, the same question. "Have you checked the children?" Panicked, she called the police. They traced the calls to inside the house. Terrified, she ran to the children's room. The bed was empty, and as she turned to leave, a voice behind her whispered, "I'm upstairs." When the police arrived, they found no trace of the man. But the babysitter swears she saw him one last time, standing in the shadows watching her. Number 3, the Vanishing Hitchhiker. It was a stormy night when the driver saw her, a young woman, soaked to the bone, standing on the side of the road. He pulled over, offering her a ride. She was quiet, pale, but as they drove, she began to hum a strange, haunting tune. When the driver glanced in the rearview mirror, she was gone. Shaken, he drove to the address she had given him. An old woman answered the door. "That was my daughter," she said. "She died on this road, 20 years ago." To this day, drivers claim to see her on rainy nights, standing on the side of the road, waiting for her next ride. Number 2, Bloody Mary. It's a game as old as time. Light a candle. Stand in front of a mirror. Say her name 3 times, Bloody Mary. They say she'll appear, a vengeful spirit with blood dripping from her hands. Some claim she scratches your eyes out. Others say she drags you into the mirror, trapping you in her world. One girl tried it at a sleepover. She followed the steps, chanting the name. But when she opened her eyes, the mirror was cracked. And in the reflection, she saw a woman standing behind her, her face twisted in rage. She ran, but the image stayed with her. To this day, she refuses to look into a mirror at night. So if you ever hear about Bloody Mary, don't say her name, because once you do, she'll find you. Number 1, the Hook. It was a quiet night. The couple parked in a secluded spot, listening to the radio. Then the news alert came on. Escaped killer. Metal hook for a hand. They laughed it off, but as the night went on, they began to feel uneasy. A scratching sound came from outside the car. Terrified, they drove off. When they got home, they found a bloody hook hanging from the car door. But here's the twist. Police later found the killer's body miles away. So who or what was scratching at their car that night? Which legend terrified you the most? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because next week we're revealing the true stories behind these nightmares. Sleep tight,